So Jade, welcome. Very excited to have you here. How are you?
I'm fucking amazing. I'm just happy to be here with you guys because you two are number one, my favorite people. So I feel lucky.
We didn't pay her to say that either.
We
No.
feel lucky.
And also your podcast is so fucking good. It is so fucking interesting.
Obviously, people would recognize you from Owning Manhattan TV show that came out on Netflix. But I feel like in real life, you have this confidence about you, this work ethic. I feel like we surround ourselves with really powerful women, but it's really nice to see how that's reflected in the show and that's also genuine in real life. What has your journey been to really get to where you are in real estate and on the show as well?
I love that question. I think it's really interesting because I think my entire life, the portions of me that made me really confident, which was like my outfits, feeling sexy, because I think that there's a power to feeling good and whenever you feel confident, like I see that as sexy. And for my entire life, everyone's like, Jade, tone it down, especially if you want to be taken seriously. Wear something that is not going to cause that much attention. And I feel like my journey of confidence was kind of like, well, I'm being put in these rooms that give me an amazing opportunity, but I feel most confident whenever myself, when I'm wearing something bright red, whenever I'm wearing something like, stiletto heel, like that's when I feel confident. So I think it was, I think we've all struggled with like the lack of confidence, but it wasn't until honestly the last like 3 years when I was like, fuck it. I was like, if people want to talk shit about me because I'm wearing a pink tracksuit to like a situation or a showing, or if they want to talk shit because I'm wearing a shoulder pad with a Balmain outfit and 6-inch heels to a meeting, like that's okay. But if I feel confident, that is how I'm going to show up. And I feel like whenever I started doing that, the world just like started doing this amazing thing where I don't know if it's the way I was showing up for myself, but it's like the people that I was supposed to be surrounded by, like real clients, real connections with people, you guys, like just the most amazing people who had an aligned vision. That's whenever things started working. And I was like, I think I'm onto something.
We really bonded. I remember you walked into the room and you had this red, some type of flare ball gown. Like you looked insanely amazing. And I was like, who is that? On a Monday night. And I was like, who is that? We need to chat right now. And then it kind of just went from there. But I just remember.
You can borrow that anytime, by the way.
I appreciate you thinking that I would fit into that.
You would.
Thank you very much. You just had a presence with you of just walking into a room. Do you think that certain successes have helped, or were you like that when you were 5 years old too?
I mean, my mom told me the story that whenever I was 5, someone asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I told her, fabulous. And like that checked out. I think whenever you show up, or at least for me, my experience of showing up, especially like as a woman, as a man too, I'm sure whenever you feel good and you look in the mirror, like you just feel amazing. I feel like there's this energy about you subconsciously and energetically where you connect with people who are also like, oh my gosh, like I'm also confident. Like I want to connect with people who like aren't afraid to maybe get a look in a different way.
It's the power of a new outfit.
Yeah.
Power of a new fucking outfit.
I swear to God, when I started my job, the first, I think, 6 months, I didn't repeat an outfit once. Looking back, 99% sucked. But at the time, the day, nailed it.
No, your outfits are so good.
Better now.
Well, she walked in with the giant leather trench from The Matrix before, and I'm like, she is owning that, and she looks so good.
But isn't that so awesome? I mean, you're like a model, you're stunning, and I feel like you can wear anything, but do you feel like whenever you wear things that are a little bit on the edge of like, okay, I wouldn't normally wear this to a grocery store, do you feel like your confidence makes people attracted to that?
It's actually wild. This is going to sound so pick me and I don't mean it, but
there's nothing you could say that sounds pick me.
I actually feel my most confident in sweats, Ugg boots, no makeup, and like hair's still kind of somewhat done, let's be realistic. I have curly hair, so it never really just goes amazing if I don't do anything to it. But I grew up that way, and I wasn't grown up to care about appearance so much. I remember the first compliment I ever got in my life regarding my appearance when I was a teenager, and I thought it was so weird. But when I would step into modeling, and they would always try and make you obviously more beautiful and put you in all these things that didn't feel yourself, I think the one way I was able to reground myself back into who I am was stripping it all back. And so I am someone I actually feel the most confident. I am actually a little more insecure in person if I have a lot of makeup on. Like if I leave a shoot, I have to wash my face. I'm insecure. I'd be like, no one look at me. But with that, growing up, I was able to, Nikki and I talk about this all the time, I was never a fashionista. I didn't really know a lot about fashion. I didn't know what suited me. And so that's been an exploration for me as I've gotten older, kind of same thing with Nikki. And I would say, like, even lately, Nikki said, she's like, you're dressing a lot edgier. And I'm like, I feel like for the first time, I'm just more confident to pick what I want to wear and dress up and put makeup on and do those things where I'm stepping out being like, yeah, today I feel boss. But it is a very powerful feeling when you do have like an outfit on that you're like, yeah, I like look good today.
I do feel like also, I don't know if it's an Australian versus an American culture thing, but I feel like from my experience in Australia, you never want to stand out from the crowd too much. It's almost more acceptable to fit in. You wear what everyone else is wearing. You kind of go with the trends. You never want to be the person who people are looking at because of the tall poppy syndrome. People kind of bring you down when you act like that. But over here, especially in New York, because I moved from LA, I feel like in New York particularly, your style is your sense of identity and your challenge to think outside the box. It's cool to be different. It's cool to be interesting and, not wearing what everyone else is wearing, which is why I love the city so much. Everyone just does their own thing, wears whatever and owns it.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And like to your point of like wearing sweats, I feel like wearing sweats and being like, I fucking own this, like it's hot. Like it's how you come off. And I feel like both of you guys have that presence no matter what you're wearing. I do feel like kind of, I look at everything, I bring everything back to like work and business. And have you ever like put on an outfit? Could be anything, right? Gone in the mirror and you're like, wow, I feel hot.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell some shit.
But then you're like, okay, I want to wear this, but like I'm going to dinner and like this isn't appropriate for dinner, or like this is like kind of like I would love to wear this for dinner, but I don't want the people around me to feel a certain way.
Yeah, I think we're taller girls. We're a couple of feet, I'd say, taller than you.
I think everyone's a couple feet taller than me.
I look like I ate you. And I think one thing with height, I was this height at the age of like 13. And with that conditioned me to try and hide away and not stand out. And it's not until I got older that I was like, screw everyone, I'm standing out. I wear heels every day, like whatever.
Yeah. I think we're always told, like people are always trying to bring us down because we get attention.
Be more conservative.
Yeah, be more conservative, right? Yeah. Like, oh, you're so tall, like everyone's looking at you, like stand, like, try to fit in.
I had a guy tell me one time to hunch because I'm too tall.
I mean,
was that his way of being like?
No, he goes. Yeah.
was that his like? Was that a flirting tactic?
A little lower.
But I will say
Sorry, Franco.
What I love about our friendship group though is I feel like last week when we were all dressed up for Halloween, obviously you walked in the room and we were like, oh my God, your abs, you look amazing. Dom had her like the corset pushing her boobs. So we're like, oh my God, your boobs look amazing. Your abs are great. And everyone's just giving each other compliments. Like, I think that it's really important to surround yourself in, especially female friendships, just friendships that lift you up. They're not tearing you down. Everyone wants kind of the best for each other. But I wanted to go back and ask you, because you did mention 3 years ago is when you kind of started really, more so thriving and stepping into yourself. Was that when the show started? What happened 3 years ago that was kind of a big moment for you?
That's a great question. So whenever I started Surhan, that was like back in like 2020, I would say. And I was still making a transition to be a full-time broker is difficult. So I still had a full-time job. I was still making a salary. It's kind of doing it like intertwined. And interviewed for the show was going on. I had some family issues, went to Miami, dealt with my dad. And because of my full-time job, I wasn't showing up as myself. So I was very conservative. You know, I wasn't posting my dance videos.
We love your dance videos.
Thank you. Everyone was like, Jade, if you want to be taken seriously in commercial real estate, you need to be a certain way. And I was being that certain way. I was, you know, buttoned up, whatever. And there's a point in the show, in reality, there's different casting processes. And when they got to what is called a sizzle reel, I was not included in the sizzle reel. And whether that was because I was traveling a lot, whether that was because I do commercial in a residential firm, or whether it just, I wasn't interesting enough. I didn't know why. And I kind of did a lot of inner work. And I was so proud of everyone who like made it. I was like, that's fucking amazing. Like, but I was like, okay, you know, am I showing up as myself? Like, am I like this bubbly person? And kind of, I feel like whenever you lose something, whether it's a relationship or, you know, a gig, you kind of look inwards and you're like, okay, why am I not happy in this moment? And I think for me, what hurt the most was because I was like, it's like, I'm not being myself. Like, I'm listening to all these people who are telling me what to be and how to show up. Like, I know what I feel like my calling in this world is, and that's to like inspire people and help them and feel confident and know that you can be sexy and smart. So why am I doing that myself? Like, I'm preaching when I'm not practicing. And I remember I quit my full-time job and I was like, oh fuck, okay. Time to like make money. And I started like being myself, like showing up, like posting videos of me in my outfits, posting dance videos, like wearing things that were a little bit more risky, not like risque, but like edgy or however I was feeling that day.
Yeah.
And that's when everything shifted. That's when my TikTok started popping off. That's when like different outlets were like, oh, Jade, this. And then that's when I got a call. That was also when I got cheated on, but
Cheated on by your husband,
by my
right?
husband. So, but other than that, then in March, I got the call from producers, from Netflix. I don't know how that happened because I wasn't part of the sizzle, but whether the call came from production company or Ryan or Netflix, they were like, Jade, we want you. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Did you also notice a difference just generally in your business when you also started to become yourself?
Oh my God, so much. Yeah. It's like, it's funny. I pissed off a lot of other agents, brokers who were like, Jade, you're not going to be taken seriously. Ugh, like I would never try. Like, you're just so mean. And like, to this day.
If I were there, like, and you thought this person isn't going to get any work and I was going to take them seriously, wouldn't you be like, shut up, because that means more work for me, so who cares? Wouldn't you actually be pissed if they're taking all your work? And if you're like, they're not going to take my work, great, shut up.
I just think people connect with, yeah. It's a good point.
But the clients, let me tell you.
Wanted to work with you.
Oh my God, every single client and every person who was like the same, you know, they were like, oh, Jade, amazing. Oh, Jade, I love this. I love that. Like, let's work, let's talk. And I'm like, amazing. Because I'm also really good at what I do.
Your husband cheated on you when you got all this opportunity, right? How did you handle that?
Yeah.
Because obviously that's you're dealing with something which is so exciting and you're probably so happy with all this opportunity and you've got all this great stuff going on. But then in your personal life, this horrific thing has happened to you. So how do you even balance those mixed emotions?
Yeah. Well, I think if I'm honest, he had cheated prior to all this stuff happening.
He's just the smallest man that ever lived, in the famous words of Dave Portnoy and Josh Richards. He's just the smallest man that ever lived.
You know, I and it's funny, like, he's Australian too, so, like, I've been to Australia.
No, he's giving us a bad rap.
I've been to Australia so many times,
Damn,
like, I feel part Australian because of it, right? So, like...
Maybe that's why we bonded.
I'm like, I get it. I always say, like, I didn't come here to fuck spiders. And I feel like, what does that mean?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, but I think that there's a multitude of reasons that guys cheat. I think in this situation it was it was a lack of his confidence and probably other things that he hasn't shared with me along the lines of dynamics. But I do feel like early on in the relationship, there wasn't like respect that was established. And that's, I think I take responsibility over that as well, because rather than standing up for myself in certain situations, I like the peace. Like, I'm like, I don't want to argue. I'm like, I'll just agree with you. Even though I don't agree with you, I'll agree with you in this moment to avoid a fight.
Yeah.
So I think whenever that happens and I'm doing my own thing and I'm super confident, I'm like, wow, like I'm fucking crushing it. I do think he believed in me. But I think our marriage was more of business. Like we'd go to dinner and it was, okay, Jade, what's next? What's next? What's next? And that's amazing in a business partner, but there was no like romance. And then I think whenever you pair that with, underlying stress for him with whatever's going on and lack of confidence, and with a woman who is so confident, who like, I think that any of us, our largest dreams, we're able to accomplish our largest dreams because it is in our minds for a reason and there's a way to get there. I believe that for everyone.
Manifestation.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
100%. And I think we could dream bigger and bigger and bigger and we can get there. And I think whenever you match that with someone who's maybe a little bit more conservative, maybe somebody who is not used to that, and, with 7 years of the dynamic of, you're learning from me, and then whenever it's like, hey, this, I think it irks them a little bit subconsciously. And I think that could be a reason why, but I think there's a multitude of things that he hasn't even told me. And, we're cordial, but it's not easy to go through a separation.
And how was it having to go through that on the show?
Fucked. I announced it on the show for real, like to my group of friends. Yeah. And you would, all right, number one, if I tell you guys, hey, I was just cheated on, I feel like in my head, doing that on TV is like, oh, tough.
Yeah.
But also I think like the reactions from other people.
Yeah. I know what you're getting at. I watched it and there was a girl who is your friend, right?
Yeah.
So as a viewer,
Yeah.
again, you don't know what's going behind the scenes, but as a viewer, you're watching someone be like, I just found out my husband cheated on me, and that person makes it all about them, and like their reaction is not what you would expect to tell your friend.
Yeah.
And it was, as a viewer, a very frustrating experience to watch.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like it's, and I'm, as you can tell, I like have empathy for everyone, right? Like I think everyone in that situation's probably like, I think people thought I was like lying about it for the show, which again, it was like, I was like,
fit. Yeah.
I was like, do you guys think I'm crazy? Like,
yeah.
I was like so in love. Like I was like, I mean, I think one thing about coming out of it, and I think we all can relate, many women can relate, and I think we don't pat ourselves on the back to be like, wow, I was in a marriage, I was in a relationship, and I was faithful. And like, I didn't look at anyone else. Like that is something that is so amazing, so beautiful. So I still look at that and I'm like, I'm thankful for that. And I know I could do that. And I know I could find it again. And again, I found love 6 times a day.
Yeah. So you're dating again now?
Yeah. Well, I was talking about when I look in the mirror, but
just 6 men on the street. So you are
And
dating
men too.
again, and you kind of document a little bit of your dates on your TikTok, right? And you kind of give each date a different nickname. We have Superman that we know about and a few others. But can we show the world your Excel sheet?
oh yeah.
It's so good. Yeah, it's great.
Wait, I
Guys, she
feel like I
has
have
a
to
dating
block
Excel
out-
sheet. What created you to make this Excel sheet? What is on it? What is it used for? You have a slideshow.
Yeah.
I actually think it's the best thing ever.
Oh, it's so good because I feel like
It's entertaining for us.
yeah, I mean, if I were to ask you guys, okay, what's your type? I would say like 85% of women and men always say, I don't have a type. And I'm like, okay, really? And then I look at, past and I'm like, no, there's a trend here.
Are you quite analytical just in your day to day?
So much. I think like for example, like women, we're 80% of the the traction of consumerism, right? So we know what's trending, and that relates to business, right? So like as women, we're very intuitive. So I like to just apply that intuitive to
You're
dating.
like, what are the common threads between all of these values here? Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And then I like to see, okay, you know, in the beginning of my journey of being single, I was going for this type of guy. I was probably bored and I was probably like, oh, what is this random, you know, experience? Because I was making up for, you know, not being single since I was 19. But it's fun. So what I do is I add the guy a photo of them. And then I add just like, you know, my overview, my analysis of them, you know, what stands out. So, you know, sometimes height, sometimes occupation. And I'm like, wow, I go for a lot of like.
What is height for you though? Because is it?
Honestly, everyone's 6 feet to me.
Because we had a friend on.
Any guy shorter than you has his knees chopped off.
Because we had a friend on the show and she has a height limit. She can't have guys too high because she's so short. So I'm always curious.
Oh yeah, I think the tallest guy I've dated was like 6'7", I think.
Jade,
Even
the
I
size of his
haven't.
arm.
Yeah,
That's tall.
he's very tall.
How does that work? Made it
Laying
work.
down is fine.
Fair. Okay.
Just kidding. We actually didn't.
So you have this Excel sheet. You put a photo of them. You put their height, their occupation, a summary of them.
Cute summary, and then I give them what is called a thump rating.
A thump.
A thump, and I have like little coffee.
Is it thump or hump?
Thump.
What does thump
like,
mean,
You know,
though?
like thumper. Like, you know, have you seen thump?
I feel like we're on the same page, but
Yeah, you know,
What is thump?
Thump?
Rating.
a thump rating to me is how excited I get. Like how like not even just like
Oh,
turned
hot
on.
thumbs?
Like yes. Oh, wait, that too.
Okay, so like butterflies, like a,
Yeah,
or
like
a.
excited, interesting, like
It's called anxiety.
or just how they make you
True.
feel.
should see someone for that. But like how excited I get from them. So I give them a thump rating, and then I use little coffee things, and then I add, and then you know, guys that have done something that I just found unacceptable, they'll get like a little like vomit emoji.
Will
You
you,
know, I
write down the unacceptable things so that you almost
Normally.
remember that that's a red flag for the next one?
Yeah. And then I have
This should be turned into an app where everyone can put this in. That would be a lawsuit.
Like your own little
that'd be
scrapbook.
fun. One of my girlfriends told me I should turn them into playing cards.
Oh my god.
That's a good one. Like, guess who? What was that game you played with the little like men?
Have you shown any of the men their section of your slideshow or Excel sheet?
I showed Superman.
Because he's currently in a good position, right?
He's number one. He's fantastic. Yeah, number one. But then I showed him like past stuff, and then
What was his reaction?
he laughed. He was like, I mean, he
A nervous
it must
laugh?
have all been
Was it a nervous
positive
laugh or was it a like, this is funny? Or was it a
it was like what I love about him is like, you know, for me, like I think being super transparent with everything. Like I'm not dating other people, you know, at this time. At that time I think I maybe was. And I'm just like super honest. Like I'm like, okay, like I share this with my girlfriend sometimes. Haha, look at your. Or actually, I didn't show him his, but I told him about it. And I was like, maybe I'll show you one of the other guys. I went on TikTok and I talked about one of the guys on the PowerPoint. And I know he follows me on TikTok. So like, I'm like, I know you saw it and hopefully you can learn from it. You know?
I think
like,
also
doing you a
being,
service.
I
being
really
transparent is
am.
the biggest thing.
Like, because I didn't reply to his text
Have you
message.
noticed that showcasing you going through a divorce on a show and then you also taking off in your career and coming more into yourself, did that bring on different types of guys to approach you? Did you notice guys approaching you more often? Did you notice if guys were aware of the show or had watched you or a bit of a fan, or if they were like, oh no, I just saw you out and thought you were beautiful, I have no idea who you were? Did you kind of notice a big change with all that?
Honestly, I was expecting to have like some like amazing DMs. Nope. No.
They're like nervous.
I'm like, hello. No. I think that like I don't know. Even if a guy, because I forget that I'm on Netflix. Like I don't. I think maybe it's still like new, or maybe I just don't care. That and not that I don't care. I think it's fucking amazing. But like as far as like what people think about me in relation to the show, I don't think about that.
I feel like when we were at dinner the other night, how the ladies came up and they're like, "We know you. Where do we know you from?" I was like, "Jade, how do you know these ladies? Do you know them?" And you're like, And then they're like, "Are you on a show?" I was like, "Oh, yes, she's on a show."
Exactly. Yeah. Like I forget that I'm on a show. So, I mean, I would say that like I feel like guys wouldn't like lead with that. Like they wouldn't lead with, "Oh, I saw you on Netflix."
Yeah.
They'd probably just like DM me, which like I've had, you know, certain guys that probably wouldn't have known about me reach out to me.
Yeah.
But
It's increasing your exposure.
yeah, I always like assume that that's just because of like TikTok or like Instagram, because me being single and me being on a show kind of happened at the same time. So I don't know if it's just because I'm single.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
or
don't
if
have
it's
anything
because
to
of the
really compare it
show.
to.
No.
Yeah. How do you balance, a lot of masculine traits help, I think, push your career forward. But then in terms of relationships, you almost have to be able to put yourself into a feminine energy and open up space for a man to feel masculine, particularly when you are a very career-driven, powerful, independent woman. So how do you kind of navigate that?
Yeah, I love this question because I talk about this a lot. Well, I always call it like the left and right brain. Because in addition to like feminine, masculine energy, whenever we go through a hardship, sometimes we are so. Have you ever like been really sad and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna like drown myself in work? That's left brain.
yeah.
And you're like, I'm not dealing with the emotion. And that's kind of like the masculine and the feminine. It's like the masculine's very logical, the feminine is more emotional. Come to me, huh? But honestly, I just tell the guy to put me over his lap and spank me. No, I'm kidding.
Kind of.
Just kidding.
You're totally not kidding.
No, I've been learning. I think that it's a mix between, there's also like dark femininity, which I think is easier to navigate.
Is that like the black cat energy?
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, I'm going to just focus on myself. I'm going to do my own thing. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. I think you are amazing. You meeting like the guy. I think you're fantastic. This is how I like to be treated. And seeing like kind of like playing that game a little bit, not game, but like being like, well, I'm going to focus on myself. And if you want to be in my life, like, you know what to do, and giving them like a little bit of a challenge. And I think when guys have that challenge, they like to accomplish things.
I do kind of want to quickly, before we have to wrap up, tap a little bit into more of the real estate market. Are there any trends that you're noticing in the Manhattan market? Do you have any advice for buyers or sellers that are, I would say, for the next 6 months to a year that you're noticing, or kind of some insight that you could share for anyone interested?
Yeah, I think like a really good like general thing that everyone can use is like always just like put in an offer. Like right now, like since COVID, it's sort of, I mean, since interest rates kind of spiked and now they're lowering right now, I would say like if you like something that's like a little bit above your price point, just put in an offer. Like put in an offer at like what you think. Like think about your dream property, put in an offer. It doesn't even matter, like as long as you keep the ball rolling. And because you never know what situation the other person might be in. And also get creative. Like, you know, we have a deal right now. We just put it in contract last night. And we had one offer that was like from this guy. He had just gotten divorced and he's like, hey, he's like, I can't afford this, but can we do an apartment swap? And I will also give you, you know, X amount on top of the apartment swap. And he's like, I'm just going to like, that was the buyer. I rep the seller. And to my seller, he's like, I've never thought about that, but like, actually, that's a really good idea. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm down. And we talked about it for a while. It ended up not going through, but like, I think that if you're working with like a really good agent, where there's a will, there's a way. It's just about really getting creative. But I would like use this opportunity because I think that we're going to see more of a seller's market in the next, for like residential, probably in the next like 18 months. For commercial, probably like 3 years, 3 to 5 years, we'll see a recovery. But obviously commercial is a different price point there.
Do you ever see or have you ever experienced certain habits or things that sellers or buyers do that just ruin it for themselves and you're just like,
You're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Ego.
yeah.
I think ego is like the number one. That's agents, a lot of agents that like lead with ego, like I want this, I want that. Doesn't help. And that's why like I truly think like women, we have this like innate power of intuition, of listening. Like, you know, men are raised very like masculine energy, objective, objective, objective. But sometimes whenever you step back and you're like, okay, what is actually needed for this deal? Like what are the things? And I think, you know, sellers too, it's so easy to be like, I want this number. I want this, I want that. Sometimes whenever you step back and you're like, okay, what is the goal here? And, you know, what am I like? What do I want? Right? Like, you know, I think whenever you're selling something, it's not just about the money. It's about what can you do with the money. You know, I'll like chat numbers like really quickly for like those who, I'll get nerdy. So let's just say you have a property, right? That's worth $1 million. That property appreciates by 4% average every year, right? If you don't have a mortgage on it, you sell it, you make $1 million. You can use that $1 million to buy something and put $1 million down on a $4 million property or $3 million property. Now, by doing that, you now have a property worth $3 million that is appreciating at 4%. So 4% of that $3 million property, which is increasing how much money you're making by triple, or, you know, your assets, or, you know, whatever. So I think sometimes like people don't look at the full picture of your quality of life whenever they're trying to sell, and they only think the number, when it's like, it's more of like, there's a lot of factors to it. So I think that that's like the biggest thing that I see agents like and sellers like not work on, and I think that should be considered.
Great. And I have one question lastly from me,
Slay.
and I'll give it to Nikki. But going back to the fashion and being in real estate, I want to get your hot take because it is a very controversial kind of, I would say, discussion. But the women on Selling Sunset and their outfits and their hairstyles and their everything, what are your thoughts on that, being someone who's also very, you know, expressive in how you dress?
It's so funny. I think that all right, there's this thing called the Trojan horse theory. And it is the theory that if you can cause attention and leverage that attention into an objective, so Kim Kardashian does with Skims, right? She does these things that people are like, oh my gosh, she's posting a naked photo. Oh, but there's Skims there, and they're funneling business. Now, I think that there's a strategy to it, and I think wearing the crazy outfits, obviously, if you're selling real estate, you're not really wearing that. I'm sure 90% of those women do a showing and they put on Old Navy, or they, you know, wear something, right? Like, but, you know, their goal is to get attention, and their goal is to make a good TV show. And I think that that's why Selling Sunset was so successful. That's why people still talk about it, because it's controversial. It makes us talk.
It's the glam, it's the real estate, it's the drama.
Exactly.
It's just not realistic for reality TV.
No, oh my God, it's
Not
not.
at all.
Well, that's why, like, you know, I think Netflix does a really good job, and for us, like, the guidance is like, be real. Like, our show is like really, really real.
Do you feel like there are key differences between LA and New York? And would you expand outside of New York?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that there are super key differences. I think in New York, like people with wealth or notoriety, like they don't want the attention. They're more like chill. And I think that that's sometimes a little bit difficult when it comes to filming because, you know, we do want to film with some like real clients and things. But like, they're like, I don't want to show my apartment. They're like, I don't want the attention. I don't want to be filmed. So I think that there's like kind of like those things. I think in LA,
Like get the Bentley out,
yeah,
show the
everyone
house.
wants like the glitz, the glamour. Like that's like they want to show their big dick, right?
Yeah.
I also say watching the show, in regards to Ryan, watching the show, he comes across extremely impressive, and I think he is a big component to why the show is actually really good reality TV in the sense he's legit. It's not just watching kind of like Selling Sunset in a sense. And he seems to have a lot of core values, have a lot of work. How is he as a boss?
Oh, he's amazing. Like, I feel like the show doesn't even tap into how awesome he is. I think as a leader, he's incredible. I don't see him as like just a boss. He's someone like he's a leader.
He is.
Like he texted me a while back and he's like, Jade, he's like, because obviously like I'm a big dreamer. I'm sure like you guys have like big goals. Like I remember we were at drinks and I was like, what are your goals? And you guys told me, right? And I've never had someone else in his position text me and be like, put this on your vision board.
Yeah.
And what he told me was something so fucking big that I was like, I've never thought about that.
I love that.
And I had to like
Yeah.
meditate on it for a while. And I'll show it to you guys because I have it on my vision board, which is on my screensaver. But like,
Oh.
Yeah.
like
He's like a mentor, a leader,
Yeah.
like everything.
That's a good one to put on your vision board. I also do have a lot of respect that after watching all these shows, he was somebody who actually let someone go from the show who wasn't abiding by his morals. I think he gained a lot of respect for that as well, and the way that he handled it. And I think, again, as a viewer, it's very rare that you can watch these shows and just be like, oh, wow, here's somebody who comes across really, really interesting, really inspirational, and also seems very loved and respected by his team.
yeah, yeah.
So kudos to Ryan for
Yeah,
that, especially a female in a male-dominant industry. I think it is so important to have a boss who is male
With good character.
to really actually not only respect but care for the women. I was about to say the women underneath him, the women in his team.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it is like we are. I mean, look, like I think I'm all like realistic. I'm like, you know, what Ryan does, and like he's a machine. It's wild. But at the same time, like you're also like crushing it. Like I think we all have like being able to like step back and be like, all right, like where did I come from? How did I get here? And like being like, oh my God, like that is so
good perspective.
fucking impressive. Like
Yeah.
I look at like all my girlfriends and I'm like, just like, do you understand how like inspiring like your story is, like, and what you're doing? Like, so I think like just even though we look at Ryan and Ryan's fucking like, he's an animal, like so fucking awesome. And the fact that he's a dad and a husband and like Zena's beautiful, Amelia's incredible. But also like give yourself some credit and be like, oh shit, like,
Doing a podcast, baby. Are there any insights you can give us to
The next season.
potential next seasons? Any upcoming
oh my God, it's
things on the horizon?
crazy.
Anyone choking another person out out of frustration, cat
I was
fights.
going to
Oh
say
my
something
God.
else for a second.
I know,
I
me
just said
too.
choking and I was like, where's she going
Yeah,
with this?
me too. I was like,
Today's been a day where I go to say something and then realize how it came out. Yes, any insight into the next season?
oh man, it's fucking wild, honestly. I mean, you guys know, I've been on, I think I've had 10 hours of sleep in the last like 3 days. And that's just because like every scene just like takes a lot out. I would say that Ryan's a really awesome boss. That's going to be something that you guys see more of because from what you guys didn't even see like a quarter of like how awesome he is. Like not just with running a company, but pushing us beyond the boundaries of what we ever thought or what I ever thought. Those are the things that come from me. There's a lot of drama, complicated feelings with dynamics of business and personal life because they do intertwine. Unfortunately, like we can try to keep them away as much as possible, but when you're with someone all the time, in the same office, there's feelings that develop, good, bad, and different. And when you have business dealings and, those are things that are
High stakes.
Oh my God, it's crazy. So I would say that you guys see those dynamics a little bit more. And yeah, just the properties are crazy.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
And maybe
exciting.
some belly dancers,
Yeah. Oh,
We
love
a
it.
belly dancer.
well, we
Yes.
know you have to get back to filming and back on your busy schedule.
Yes.
So we really appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with us for a little bit today.
I love
Thank
you
you
guys
so
and maybe
much.
I'll
so
see you later
much.
tonight.
Yeah, I'll see you later tonight. Yeah, for like
Thanks.
a nice dirty
Martini.
martini.
All right.
Jade.
Thank you.
Love
I
you.
love you guys.